She said, "I need to focus on my career, no distractions." After cheating with her boss, I replied, "I understand." I then quietly sent an anonymous email to corporate with photos of them, citing a fraternization policy violation. She discovered how focused on her career she'd be when they were both fired the next day. I, 32M, understood exactly what my wife meant when she told me she needed to focus on her career without distractions. What I didn't understand was why she thought I was stupid enough not to notice the truth behind those words. We'd been married for 6 years. The kind of marriage that looked perfect from the outside. Decent house in the suburbs, 2 cars in the driveway, annual vacations to places we'd post about, but barely remember. She worked in marketing at a mid-sized tech firm downtown, climbing the ladder with the kind of ambition I'd always admired. I worked in software development, steady hours, decent pay, nothing flashy. We were comfortable, or so I thought. The sign started about 4 months ago. Late nights at the office became routine. Weekend conferences that required her full attention. Her phone, once casually left on the kitchen counter, now stayed glued to her side, face down, always. When I'd lean over to kiss her goodnight, she'd turn her head just slightly, so my lips caught her cheek instead. Small things. Dismissible things. Until they weren't. I'm not proud of what I did next, but desperation makes you do things you'd never imagine. One Tuesday evening, after she'd texted saying she'd be home late again, I drove to her office. The parking garage was mostly empty, just a few cars scattered across the levels. I found hers on the 3rd floor, right next to a black BMW with executive parking privileges. The license plate holder read the company name. I sat in my car 3 spaces away and waited. 2 hours passed. My coffee went cold. My legs cramped. Then the elevator doors opened, and there they were. Her boss, mid-40s, salt and pepper hair, the kind of guy who probably used words like synergy and disruption in casual conversation. His hand rested on the small of her back as they walked. Not guiding, possessing. She laughed at something he said, throwing her head back in that way she used to laugh with me, years ago. They stopped at her car. He pressed her against the driver's door, and she didn't resist. His mouth found hers, and she pulled him closer. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. I wanted to storm over there, to shout, to make a scene. But something stopped me. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was the realization that confrontation would give her the upper hand, the chance to flip the script, to make me the bad guy for not trusting her, for spying. Instead, I took out my phone and started recording. The video quality wasn't great in the dim garage lighting, but it was clear enough. Crystal clear. I got 3 minutes of footage before they finally separated. He got in his BMW. She got in her car. They left separately, probably heading to wherever they'd been meeting. A hotel, most likely. I drove home in silence, my mind racing through scenarios. Confront her immediately? Gather more evidence? Talk to a lawyer first? By the time I pulled into our driveway, she was already inside, humming while she made herself a salad. She looked up when I walked in and smiled like nothing had happened. She asked about my day. I told her it was fine, just the usual. She mentioned how exhausting work had been, how demanding the new product launch was, how her boss was really pushing the team. I nodded along, watching her perform this elaborate dance of deception. Every word out of her mouth felt like another layer of betrayal. Over the next 2 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. I checked her location obsessively when she said she was working late. I went through her laptop while she showered, finding encrypted folders I couldn't access. I even created a fake email account and sent her a message pretending to be a potential client, just to see if she'd respond differently. She did, professional, courteous, none of the coldness she'd been showing me at home. The real breakthrough came when I found a receipt in her coat pocket. The Riverside Inn, a boutique hotel about 20 minutes from our house. 2 nights from 3 weeks ago, one of her supposed conference weekends. The charge was for 1 night, room service for 2, champagne. I looked up the hotel online. Romantic getaway packages. Couple suites with jacuzzi tubs. My stomach turned. I photocopied the receipt. Added it to the folder I'd been building. Video from the parking garage. Screenshots of her suddenly pristine text message history. Too clean, obviously deleted. Credit card statements showing charges at restaurants we'd never been to together. Always on nights she claimed to be working late. Then came the conversation that changed everything. 3 weeks after I'd first seen them together, she sat me down on the couch. Her expression was serious, practiced. She'd been thinking a lot about us, she said, about where we were headed. The truth was, she needed to focus on her career right now. This was a crucial time for her professionally, and she couldn't afford distractions. She needed space to grow, to become the person she was meant to be. I asked what she meant by distractions. She touched my hand, that pitying touch you give someone you're about to hurt. Us, she explained. Our marriage. It wasn't that she didn't care about me. She did, so much. But she couldn't give our relationship the attention it deserved. It wouldn't be fair to either of us. She thought maybe we should consider a separation. Just temporary. Just until she figured things out. I sat there, watching her deliver this rehearsed monologue, and something clicked. She wasn't leaving me for him. Not yet. She was covering her bases. Establishing the narrative that our marriage was struggling because of her career ambitions, not because she was sleeping with her boss. That way, when the truth eventually came out, and it always does, she could claim the affair started after we'd already decided to separate. Clean. Convenient. Calculated. I told her I understood. I said I'd been feeling the distance between us too. If she needed space to focus on her career, I wouldn't stand in her way. I agreed we should take some time apart. Her relief was visible. She hugged me, thanked me for being so understanding, promised we'd figure everything out. The performance was flawless. That night, after she went to bed, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. I'd spent the last 2 weeks researching her company's policies. Like most corporations trying to avoid liability, they had strict rules about workplace relationships, especially between supervisors and subordinates. Mandatory disclosure. Potential reassignment. In cases where the relationship created conflicts of interest or violated ethical guidelines, termination was possible. I created a new email account. Something generic and untraceable. The subject line read, Fraternization Policy Violation, Evidence Attached. The body was brief and clinical. I explained that I was a concerned party who had become aware of an inappropriate relationship between an executive and a direct report. I attached the parking garage video, the hotel receipt, and screenshots I'd managed to capture of their social media interactions, comments and likes that seemed innocuous individually, but told a story when compiled together. I included specific dates, times, and locations. I referenced the company handbook sections on ethical conduct and conflicts of interest. I noted that the subordinate employee had recently received a promotion and raised questions about whether that advancement was merit-based or influenced by the relationship. I made sure everything was factual, verifiable, and impossible to dismiss. Before I sent it, I sat there for 20 minutes, cursor hovering over the button. This would blow up her life, her career, maybe even his marriage. I'd noticed the wedding ring he never took off. Part of me wanted to be the bigger person, to just divorce her and move on. But the bigger part, the part that had been betrayed and lied to for months, wanted her to understand what consequences felt like. I hit send at 2 in the morning. Then I cleared my browser history, deleted the email account, and went to bed. She was sleeping peacefully beside me, probably dreaming about her exciting new life. I didn't sleep at all. The next morning started normally. She got up, showered, did her makeup with extra care, probably for him. I made coffee and toast, played my role. She kissed my cheek on her way out, reminded me she had a late meeting and wouldn't be home until after 8. I told her to have a good day. I worked from home that day, unable to focus on anything except my phone. Around 11, I got a text from her. 3 words, call me. Emergency. My heart rate spiked, but I waited 15 minutes before responding, asking if everything was okay. She called immediately. Her voice was frantic, barely coherent. Something had happened at work. Someone had sent an email to corporate HR with accusations about her and her boss. They'd both been called into separate meetings. There were photos, receipts, evidence of things she couldn't explain. She was panicking. They were investigating. She might be fired. I asked what kind of accusations. She broke down, finally admitting what I'd known for months. She'd made a mistake. It had started innocently, just late nights working together, but it had developed into something more. She'd never meant for it to happen. She was going to end it. She swore she was going to end it. But now someone knew, and everything was falling apart. I asked if there was anything I could do. She said no, just that she needed me to know the truth. She was sorry, so incredibly sorry. She'd been weak and stupid, and she'd ruined everything. The line went quiet for a moment. Then she said she had to go. HR was calling her back in. I told her I'd be there for her, whatever happened. The irony tasted bitter. Update 1. The call came at 4:30 that afternoon. She was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. They'd fired her. Both of them. Effective immediately. Security had escorted them out separately, boxed up their belongings, revoked their access badges. The email had included too much evidence. The relationship had clearly violated company policy, and because he'd been her direct supervisor during her recent promotion, they determined it created an unacceptable conflict of interest. She kept asking who could have done this. Who could have known? Who would be cruel enough to destroy her career? I made sympathetic noises, suggested maybe it was someone at the office who'd noticed them together. She insisted they'd been so careful. This didn't make sense. When she got home, she looked destroyed. Makeup smeared from crying, carrying a cardboard box with her desk belongings. She collapsed on the couch and told me the whole story, or her version of it. How it had started as an emotional connection, how she'd felt appreciated and valued in a way she hadn't felt in years. How he'd made her feel alive. She didn't say it was my fault for not making her feel that way, but the implication hung there. She explained that he'd promised they'd be together once he figured out his situation at home. He had kids, a wife who didn't understand him, the usual cliches. She'd believed him, and now they were both unemployed, both facing professional ruin in an industry where word travels fast. I held her while she cried, rubbed her back, told her we'd figure it out. Inside, I felt nothing, just a cold, satisfied emptiness where my sympathy should have been. Over the next few days, the reality set in for her. Other companies in the industry had already heard about what happened. HR departments talk, apparently. Her LinkedIn messages went unanswered. Recruiters who'd previously courted her suddenly had nothing available. Her professional reputation, built over a decade, was effectively destroyed. The boss stopped answering her calls after the second day. I'd expected that. Men like him don't stick around when things get messy. They save themselves. She finally admitted he'd blocked her completely, and that's when she broke down again, realizing she'd sacrificed everything for someone who discarded her the moment she became inconvenient. She started therapy, started applying to jobs in other cities, other states, anywhere that might not have heard the story. She became obsessed with finding out who'd sent that email. She was convinced it was someone from her office, maybe someone jealous of her success. She never once considered me. I played the supportive husband role perfectly, made dinner every night, listened to her rage and grief, helped update her resume, suggested she frame the situation as a departmental restructuring rather than a termination. I was present, attentive, caring, everything she'd accused me of not being. About 2 months after her firing, she brought up the separation conversation again. Except now, the tone was different. She didn't want space to focus on her career anymore. She wanted to work on us. She'd had time to think, to realize what truly mattered. Her career had consumed her, made her lose sight of what was important. She'd made terrible mistakes, but she wanted to fix things. Therapy was helping her understand herself better. Could we try again? I looked at her sitting across from me, genuinely remorseful, genuinely trying. And I realized she'd never actually understand. She thought the consequences of her affair were losing her job and her lover. She didn't understand that the real consequence was losing herself, her integrity, her self-respect, her ability to be trusted. I told her I needed time to think about it. She accepted that, probably thinking I was processing her infidelity. Really, I was deciding when to file for divorce. Update 2. I filed the paperwork 3 months after she was fired. By then, she'd found a new job, lower position, significant pay cut, different industry. She was rebuilding, slowly. When I told her I wanted a divorce, she seemed genuinely shocked. She asked why now, after everything we'd been through together. I'd stood by her during the worst time of her life. Why give up when things were finally stabilizing? I told her the truth, just not all of it. I explained that I couldn't get past what she'd done. The affair, yes, but more than that. The lying, the elaborate deception, the way she'd looked me in the eye every day while betraying everything we'd built together. She argued that people make mistakes, that relationships could survive infidelity if both people were willing to work at it. She'd ended the affair. Well, it had been ended for her, but still. She was committed to rebuilding trust. Didn't that count for something? I asked her when she would have told me if she hadn't been caught. If that email had never been sent, if she'd kept her job, if everything had continued as planned. Would she have eventually confessed? Would she have developed a conscience? She couldn't answer that. We both knew the truth. The divorce was relatively straightforward. No kids, assets split fairly evenly. She didn't fight me on anything, probably out of guilt. Her lawyer tried to argue she deserved more because losing her job had impacted her earning potential, but my lawyer shut that down quickly. Her employment termination was due to her own ethical violations, not anything I'd done. Throughout the process, she kept asking about the email. It had become an obsession. She was convinced if she could find out who'd sent it, somehow that would make everything make sense. She'd hired someone to try tracing it, but the account had been deleted, the trail cold. She'd questioned everyone at her old office who might have known. Nobody admitted anything. One night, about a week before the divorce was finalized, she showed up at the house drunk. She'd been out with friends who'd convinced her she needed closure. She stood in the doorway demanding to know if I'd known about the affair before she told me. Had I suspected? Was that why I'd been so distant those last few months? I told her no. Told her I'd been blindsided just like everyone else. She studied my face, looking for cracks in the story, but I'd had months to perfect the lie. Finally, she nodded, apologized for bothering me, and left. The divorce finalized on a Tuesday. I signed the papers in my lawyer's office. She signed in hers. And just like that, 6 years of marriage dissolved into legal documents and divided property. My lawyer asked if I felt relieved. I told him I felt nothing, which was mostly true. I'd expected to feel satisfaction, vindication, justice served. Instead, I just felt tired. Tired of the anger that had consumed me for months. Tired of the elaborate deception I'd maintained. Tired of being someone who could destroy lives with an anonymous email and sleep soundly afterward. But I didn't regret it. That's the thing nobody tells you about revenge. It doesn't make you feel better, but it does make you feel even. And sometimes, even is enough. Update 3. It's been a year since the divorce finalized. I'm writing this from a new apartment across town, a fresh start in a space that doesn't carry memories of her. Life has settled into a new rhythm. Work, gym, occasional dates that haven't gone anywhere serious. I'm okay with that. She reached out last month. Just a text, asking if we could meet for coffee. She had something she wanted to tell me. Against my better judgment, I agreed. She looked different. Healthier, somehow. Therapy had apparently done its job. She'd found a new position, lateral move from her current job, better company culture. She was seeing someone, nothing serious, just casual dating. She seemed genuinely happy, or at least at peace. She told me she'd stopped trying to figure out who sent that email. Her therapist had helped her understand that knowing wouldn't change anything. The email didn't ruin her life. Her choices did. She'd spent months blaming this anonymous person for destroying her career, when really, she destroyed it herself the moment she started sleeping with her boss. She apologized again, more genuinely than before. Said she understood why I'd left, why I couldn't forgive her. She didn't blame me. She just wanted me to know she was working on becoming a better person, someone worthy of trust again someday. I thanked her for telling me. Wished her well. Meant it mostly. As we stood to leave, she said something that stopped me cold. She mentioned how strange it was that whoever sent that email had known so many specific details. The hotel receipt date, the exact parking garage level, the timing of everything. It suggested someone close to the situation, someone watching carefully. She looked at me when she said it. Really looked at me. And for just a second, I saw the question in her eyes. But then she smiled, hugged me goodbye, and walked away. I don't know if she figured it out. Maybe she did. Maybe she's known for months and just needed to say it out loud to see how I'd react. Or maybe I'm paranoid, seeing accusations where none exist. Either way, it doesn't matter anymore. We're both moving forward, carrying our scars and lessons. She learned that actions have consequences. I learned that revenge is hollow but sometimes necessary. People ask if I'd do it differently if I could go back. Honestly, I don't know. The version of me sitting in that parking garage, watching his hand on her back, feeling the foundation of his life crumble beneath him. That person did what he needed to do to survive. To regain some sense of control in a situation where he had none. Was it right? Probably not. Was it justified? That's not for me to decide. What I do know is this. She said she needed to focus on her career without distractions. I made sure she got exactly what she asked for, just not in the way she expected. And sometimes, in the quiet moments before sleep, I still see that video playing on my phone screen. Still feel the cold satisfaction of hitting send on that email. Still wonder if the man I became that night is someone I can live with. So far, the answer has been yes. And I suppose that's the most honest thing I can say about any of it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.